getting this guy pulled out of here. And I think having this back there with the silage turned out really, really well. Be cool to see him in his new home when he gets there. He's been a good bull. And he's just so frickin' thick. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. All right, Saturday morning. It is ridiculously nice out. So everything on the list for this weekend is kind of going to be a combination of hauling manure, disking, possibly plowing. We have a few loads of manure to haul yet out of where the bulls were, out of BDA. Dad wouldn't mind getting that field down by the pit turned over with the plow. He just likes the way like plowing, moldboard plowing handles with our manure bed pack. Dad doesn't like how sometimes we'll get a bunch of big clumps on the top and stuff like that if there's too much hay in a certain area or something like that. So he definitely wants to do a little bit more moldboard plowing, but use the chisel where appropriate. So we might do some of that, but to do that, we have to set up the 42. That's kind of the tractor we wanted to do with that. We need to set up the tires, which means we need to jack it up, move it around, and hopefully we can move it around and we don't get any surprises. This morning I've been kind of poking around with lawnmower stuff, getting the lawnmower out. I got the battery charger on it. Just got to double check the oil. I don't typically change oil or sharpen blades until after we do a couple of cuts. Yeah, we're going to start out, we're going to unhook the spreader, and then we're probably going to play around with these wheels, and hopefully it doesn't take us all effing day to do it, based on evidence that we've seen on this thing as far as when people have tried to play around with the wheels. They need to get about 4 inches wider, and then these front ones are going to come out at least one set of notches, which is about 4 inches too. Well, this actually didn't go too bad. We didn't have really any issues with this one. That bolt was a little bit tight, but we had to get, because the weights are on there, we can't get a socket on, so we had to go with a wrench. But we had a chunk of this tubing left from the cattle trailer, and it made a perfect breaker bar. But we did also get the fronts. We just moved them basically out one hole, which is 2 inches. So these are 2 inches out. You know, if you look at them, they're kind of like the fronts land right in the middle of the backs, which I think we kind of like. Plus it gives you a little bit wider front, a little more stability. Also did swap out the fuel filter, had those, so got that done. We did want to bleed the brakes, but we always had like the 2030 and the 29 in mind for bleeding the brakes, and well, let's just say that spot is not there on the 42. So we got to do a little digging into that, because there's a little bit, like you kind of go down, then all of a sudden the pressure builds up. It seems like there's a little bit of air in the line, because who knows when they've been drained last. So, well, I better get home, because Bethany is probably wondering where the heck I am with the one piece of the lawnmower that she needs so she can mow lawn. And then we're taking a little bit of a hydration lunch, and this afternoon I think Dad's gonna disc behind the house, because that's that really wet field, so we'll get him started on that, and then we're probably going to haul some manure out of the BDA. All right, we're in the 44, running it down to the shop so that Dad can grab it. We'll double check, you know, things like hydraulic and motor oil, all that good stuff. Shouldn't be an issue. Dad was getting a little warm yesterday, temp wise. I think we got it pretty much topped off. I did put like, I don't know, it was like 2 gallons of stuff in there between water and antifreeze. So we should be pretty good. I'll probably top that off again just to doubly make sure. It definitely is still pumping, because when we put stuff in it yesterday and we fired it back up, I mean, the temp dropped immediately. So, not totally sure where all the fluid is going, but it's not going in the oil, because we checked the oil yesterday, and it doesn't smell or look watery, or it's not coming up or anything like that. It's not burning weird, or just stuff like that. So this is the field Dad was working on last night. He might hit this again today, because it looks like he missed a couple of strips. Just the way it went, he missed a couple strips. Not a huge deal. He'll get that this next time. But what he wants to do is go behind the house in that really wet corner and disc that up, because we are supposed to get some pretty good storms come tomorrow night into Monday. Definitely would like to get that loosened up and allow any water to soak through really quickly. All right, we got the 42 down here with the manure spreader with the H&S 310. We're gonna grab the Mahindra and start hauling. Dad is already up there and probably discing already. All right, first load loaded up. We're gonna head back there. Kind of nice because we'll be right next to where Dad's working, and we can see how that's discing up. I haven't got any calls yet, and usually the first spot he would go to would be the wettest spot. But I would think we've been a little dry. We could use maybe a half-inch of rain. Yep, looks like Dad was able to disc through all the wet stuff pretty easily, which is awesome. We don't get too many chances to disc that back corner. Whew. That was a bump. I thought Dad was doing down and backs, but he's actually doing a U shape, so I can spread on that west edge. But he had reminded me that, like, where we were driving through the ditch, the drain ditch, to get to the south half of this field, we had rutted that up pretty decent the first time we went through there. Well, now the last few loads, we're driving over perpendicular to those ruts. That's rough. So, but I think it's not going to be nearly as bad coming the next time. And I think we're undecided on this part of it, as far as, are we going to put corn on here or are we going to put oats? I think we're going to put corn right here. All right, Dad's heading out with that load. So that's the second load of the day. I just keep saying so I can try and remember. But I'm gonna grab the Mahindra, come grab the little material bucket, and try and start cleaning up some of these like more like soupier stuff that's starting to dry out a little bit, but hasn't totally dried out. You know what I mean. All right, BDA is pretty much cleaned out, and that also frees up our chance to work on that whenever we want to. That just needs to be done before fall. So kind of the same thing that happened to us last year is we are really darn close to being done covering our fields with manure, at least the ones that we need it. And we haven't even gone to the loafing shed, and that area did not get cleaned last year, which that area, it could go, we can skip a year in that one. There's so much room, you can't really tell if it gets cleaned or not. Just got to drop off the material bucket. that should be coming pretty quick. We just got to figure out what we want to do. Dad is back, and we are going to stop hauling for the day because we got to feed. We're done in there, and it would take a little bit to get back in here, and we got to see what the weather is like tomorrow, because again, I really would like to try and get those cows in the yard and all that stuff and vaccinate, and you know, maybe if we get a couple loads done tomorrow, but then also we can get these guys set up so then if Dad wants to haul during the week, he doesn't have to deal with them. We got to get ourselves a little bit better situated. So I'm gonna put the big bucket on, so we can do silage. Dad's gonna park the 42. Yeah, we're getting stuff done today. We're accomplishing things. Act like they're starving. They ain't gonna starve. Trust me, they ain't gonna starve. Silage in the bucket. Let Dad out. Give these cows and calves a good once over. It does look like our mic drop first calf heifer, our mic drop daughter, was in heat. I haven't seen anything today, so it might have been last night. But that's a good sign. She's in pretty decent shape for her first calf. Mama? Hey, good morning. All right. Sorry you're starting on the phone because I forgot last night that my SD card was full and forgot to do a dump this morning on it. So getting a few on the phone until I can get back in the house and do that. I probably should just get another SD card so I can just swap them. It would make a lot more sense. Maybe I'll order that today. So might have a guy come and look at the other two bulls today. Not quite sure. Got a couple of questions on them this morning. So we'll see how that goes. But one thing we got to do is we definitely got to sort out 53. He needs to find his own pen. Dad's gonna grab the Mahindra and we're gonna go into the loafing shed area and just kind of see like how wet it is and stuff like that. Possibly try and get that bale feeder out of there because it's got to come out of there anyways. And then kind of just go from there, because if we do have the guy coming to look at them, we kind of got to figure out where we can put everybody if we wanted to bring the cows in and try and work them and sort them and all that garbage. So all right, getting this guy pulled out of here, and I think having this back there with the silage turned out really well. Not sure if we'll flip it over or not to clean it out. We'll see what Dad does. Unfortunately, it is starting to rain, like not heavy, which is nice, so it's like at least tolerable. But what Dad's doing right now is just kind of trying to stack up some stuff so we could have a spot to actually load out from and get down to some actual good dirt. So that's really what we're doing. It's kind of just like a little, just a little bit of setup work. Most likely we would be coming through right where the bulls are, coming through the two red gates and backing up basically right where Dad's parked. So we just want to get a nice pile started, and for whatever reason this area back here always tends to be just confusing for us to clean because there's never really like a good spot to park. It does give us a really nice opportunity to kind of break stuff up though, because we do know that there is more like in here, like we're kind of hopping the bale feeder around, so we do know that there's a lot more hay bedding back here than there normally would be. So just sitting here watching Dad work on this stuff, so he's definitely got a clump. This is where one of the bale feeders was. You can definitely tell just by looking at it, it's definitely a much more hay concentrate. And then as he's breaking or laying that down, like he didn't want that all to slide off. He's actually trying to sift it so it breaks apart. So that's why he's going at it again, and he'll kind of stab at it. And it's not that the spreader can't spread it, But what'll happen is if it's in the right spot on the spreader, it'll break a shear pin really easy because this stuff is longer and stringier and tougher than straw. And then the other issue is if it does come off, then it possibly is going to come off in like a really big chunk. And then we have to go back out there with the manure bucket anyways and kind of break up some of those chunks. So that's just like one big shelf of hay. It definitely kind of maxes out that tractor for sure. Now, knock on wood, since we put that roller bearing in that thing, we don't think we have any bearing issues. So much for the mechanic at the dealer where we got it from. And he's been really good. They've been really good whenever we've needed to get parts and stuff like that. They said we couldn't put a cylindrical roller bearing in there. I said otherwise. So we got it in there and it works. So kudos to us. We did start off LN53, so just letting him have this whole pen. Plus, it's the first time he's really been sorted off from his buddies, so they can come up and go gate to gate. But then if we need to, then we'll just throw him in that back pen if we got to move him out. So yeah, be cool to see him in his new home when he gets there. He's been a good bull, and he's just so frickin' thick. It's crazy. Like, he kind of fell in line in the same respects as McFats from last year. They are both Bold Rulers sired, which I kind of like. That's one thing I've noticed about Bold Ruler for us. They have all been really good calves. I think we've used Bold Ruler enough that I don't know. After we have 6 straws of Bold Ruler left, I think that'll probably be good for this year. And still, if we wanted to use a couple next year. But I think a couple of years from now, if there's a bull I want to like go back on, like a True Justice type of situation, I'd go back and throw a Bold Ruler on a cow. So I think he's turned, for us, I think you get that lighter birth weight, but you get a really good growthy bull. Or heifer. So Dad's probably only been going at it for about a half hour, a little bit more. We got a pretty nice area cleared out. The other thing is we know that we're going to get some rain, so trying to get us down to some actual firm ground and giving that water a place to go should be nice too. So that's why Dad's now working on that area. But idea would be to bring manure spreader right here, and then we can load here and dump. All right, thankfully for you guys, you're back on the camera. All right, this weather really does kind of suck. It's actually a little cruddier than we thought it was going to be. So unfortunately, and it does really irritate me that we're not going to be able to get the cows in to work them. And it's not so much like working them in the yard, it's all the stuff we would have to do to set up. We would just be out in the rain. Now, if it stops soon enough, we might be able to, but the guy coming to look at the bulls is going to be here around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So when the rain stops is basically about what time he's going to get here. So very good chance that he's just going to take them with him. So we probably won't even go to a sale this year, which Dad and I actually like going to the sales. All right, so it's actually, I had checked earlier and the cows are right here. That is DJ that's in standing heat. I think everybody's just kind of going around in circles there. But yeah, DJ is definitely in standing heat. All right, so we are definitely doing 2 bales tonight. One, they're due for 2, and then it's helping us get rid of our 24 twine bales. We're still gonna have some 24 bales left, but I think what I'm gonna kind of designate those 24 bales, because a lot of that is mostly bluegrass, because I know it comes from the neighbors. I'm gonna designate those for like over the summer, like bale grazing type of bales, hitting those, you know, kind of later in the summer when, you know, we're trying to stretch out pastures a little bit, or if we have, you know, some wet spots or something like that. That's what those bales are going to be used for. That way we can save our nice net wrap 25 stuff, because we're probably going to have a good 60 bales left, which we probably might need, because honestly, our pastures, our hay fields are as tall as our pastures, and they're only about 8 inches tall. And it's what, the 16th today? 16th or 17th? It is the 17th of May. So definitely been lacking heat. Yesterday was great. I mean, we hit 80, I think, 79 or 80, but we've definitely been lacking heat. Has been our problem, and it's kind of been actually the problem the last couple of years, is it takes so long for it to get warm out. Some of these guys are already taking advantage of the fresh hay. That's another one of our, so that is out of a State of War, that little LP 931. So another nice little heifer. That's out of a State of War. Don't think, not that one though, right? Is that Mom? Our State of Wars are pretty tiny. Yeah, that's Mom. They are very, very moderate framed. I really like them though. I'm impressed that they have bred back. They're young, and they've just done very well. They are probably about as moderate as I would want our Simmentals to be. So, but if I could get a hold of State of War, I would use him some more. Which I probably won't be able to get State of War anymore, but I want to try the C-Mex bull. Was it a Mr. Limitless or something like that? Looks to be a very, very nice State of War son. And he is purebred, and he's purebred to the Canadian standard, which means I believe it's like, what, 31/32 or something, or is it 15/16? It's definitely a couple steps above what the ASA qualifies him as. We'll definitely have to see how the cows come across and eat up this bale. This one was definitely not one of the better ones. This core, you can tell this core was probably baled up against a fence line / tree line, where it's really heavily shaded, because there's definitely a little bit of mold on the inside. So, well, our day definitely got a little bit longer. The guy who's coming to look at the bulls, he's not gonna be here till like 6:30. So looks like I'll have time to get in the house and do stuff to get ready for the week. And just like that, we are down to 1 bull. Had to wait just a little bit longer than we originally thought, but it turned out okay. We got the prices we wanted for them. Nice people. They're from like 3.5 hours southwestern Wisconsin. Nice people. And next year they potentially would be looking for another bull, so we'll keep them posted. But yeah, we have not eaten dinner yet, and Mom is making homemade lasagna, so we got to get down there and get ourselves some dinner. So we're calling it the end of the video. On your way out, smash that like button, help support the channel. If you got any questions, please leave them in the comments. And definitely don't forget to subscribe. Help support us here at Ohrmundt Simmentals. Helps get to our goal of 4,000 subs with your help. And as always, thanks for coming along.
I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest.